Hello, hello, and welcome to another creative chat. This time we have Salina, and Salina has two different businesses. One that's called Paper Star, and that is a Stampin' Up business. Some of you might know that I used to have a Stampin' Up business as well, so we can definitely chat about that. And she also is a coach, and she used to call herself a structure coach, but she's changing that. So I'm really interested to hear how she's calling herself right now.
Ooh.
Hi, Salina. Welcome.
Hi, Natalie. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have you.
Well, now I am your coach, so that's that's really cool to have it in a different setting this time. Well, I'm Salina. I'm 36 years old. I'm a mom of one. I have a son of he's 9, and I'm married to Bas. Very happily married, of course. And as you said, I have two businesses, and at the moment, Paper Star is my Stampin' Up business, and Via Salina is my coaching business. And how do I call myself? Well, a coach for chaotic minds. I think that's the right way to put it. And besides that, I'm also a provocative coach. I think I have to say it like that. In Dutch, we say it provocatief, but I think it's like that. And the provocative way of coaching is with lots of humor and how do you say it? Challenging your coachee to feel what's happening inside and to challenge them to blurp it out. that's and then the best solutions will come. So that's also very creative, I think. And that's me. What do you want to know? From which company do you want to know the most? Or, as we just said, both companies also are fluid, and that's what already was the conclusion before we started our interview earlier.
Yes, exactly. So I think sometimes we feel like one business is creative and the other isn't, but it's not that clear. It goes through each other, it confluence, it flows, and they influence each other as well. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Stampin' Up is a crafting business, because I forgot to tell that. So let's talk a bit first about the crafting business. Yes. How do you feel? Because of course there's creativity in the crafting, but how do you feel that creativity shows up in other parts of that business?
Well, it's also being creative with the solutions in your family and in the combination with the other business I have with Via Salina. And it's really fun to see that both elements from Via Salina and Paper Star are almost influencing each other, maybe I have to say it like that, because at the moment I'm also in a demonstrator council of Stampin' Up. That's at the Dutch Demonstrator Council. We represent the demonstrators from Holland for entire Stampin' Up. And over there I tell about balance. And it's also my coaching business, of course. And if you see the other elements of creativity in Paper Star, I think it's teaching people that you are always creative. And I think people tend to say easily, I'm not creative. I can't do this. How do you do that? Now, well, it's easy. You have to have the right materials and you just do it and feel what's coming. And everyone is creative in a certain way, because it's funny to see a man stamp. There are also men who stamp. That's really, really nice to say. We had a workshop a few years ago for Pink Ribbon for the Breast Cancer Foundation. And there were a few men at the table, and there was one, well, it was exquisite to see. He just grabbed all the colors he liked and he just went stamping through each other. And we call that mixed media, of course. But he was like, oh, this is an existing technique. And he was flabbergasted that he could do that. So I tried to challenge him to do it more than once. But, well, it's just a woman's business, I think.
No, but I think it's true. I think we are all more creative than we think. And I think we're very likely to say, oh, I'm not creative. Or when I used to have workshops here, I would always get new people, or when I would be at markets, oh, I'm not creative. Oh, I love what you make. I could never make that. And I would also be like, of course you can.
Yeah.
If you have the right tools and you get the right instructions and help, why wouldn't you be able to make that? Maybe not exactly that, because your creativity might work differently, but you will definitely have good ideas and have input to make it your own. And I think making it your own is what makes it creative. If you just copy it completely, then the whole idea of creativity is gone.
It's gone. Yeah, it's not just a recipe you have to follow when you cook. At the moment, I give a simple stamping classes online, and they're for free at Facebook, because I like to share what I do, and I like to share the creativity. And the fun part is that people buy the tools they need to make the simple stamping projects. And afterwards, when the workshop is done, they give me a DM or a message. Oh my God, I made it my own. I can do this. And the excitement it shows through the DM. It's almost magnificent to see how people open up when you make something simple. For demos, it's sometimes really hard to make it simple, because you want to layer and embellish and ribbon and everything. But when you go back to the basics, you also go back to yourself, I think. Back to the basics is a little bit about back to your childhood. When you were a child, what were you doing? Were you drawing, or were you painting, or did you like to make it's fall outside, the leaves from outside, and dry them between the books and make something of that? And it's the same with a creative business. Feel what you like and do that. And you said it earlier in the take. Everyone is creative, but every business is also creative. The fun part of this interview for me is at the moment that I see that it's really fluid, my two businesses. I didn't realize it, I think. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but I think, and especially as a coach for creative or chaotic minds, like most creative minds are chaotic. And I think people that will watch this interview, they are probably creative and therefore chaotic as well, because they kind of go hand in hand. But we tend to think that being chaotic is a bad thing, while it doesn't have to be. If it's, somewhere a bit limited to where you're chaotic. If you're chaotic everywhere, it might get a bit problematic. But it's the chaos that brings ideas, and it's the chaos that especially gives you the best ideas, because if you're really trying to logically get to a good idea, it's not going to happen. It's brainstorming and just letting loose that's going to bring that.
You can't force it. And the main part of thinking that you're not creative is that you are conditioned from your environment. So I want to say 6 things at the same time about the chaotic mind. It's people who think they are not creative are often limited by their environment. So they grab a notebook with lines and they want to write. But when you are creative, you are working with your right brain half. I don't know if it's right English, but I think that you know what I mean. And at the left brain half, you have the words you're going to write. So it's physically not possible to be creative when you only want to write words. So it's really important to grab a large piece of paper or a notebook with no lines or without dots, or and just create, draw and put letters and words through each other and make arrows between them, connect them. And that's the moment when creativity comes out and gets the best of it. And I think it's probably the limitations of the environment who create people who think they are not creative, only logic. So, what you say, you can't force it.
Yeah.
You have to make it flow and feel. And yes, I believe it's possible to plan creativity. That sounds maybe a little bit crazy if you first said you can't force it. But when you allow yourself to give yourself the afternoon to be creative, and you sit down in a nice environment, grab your cup of tea or coffee and your big notebook or your big scrapbook of what you have, and just doodle. And from that doodles, your creativity will come, your new products will come, your new ideas. And when you have that, then you're going to grab the logic part, put it together in a line, or put your tasks in a backlog of how you do it. And then you can take on the logic sense of the thing you created from your creativity. So in a sense, everyone is creative when they have a business.
Yeah, I agree. I had to say, I had this idea of when you said about the environment. I had an interview earlier with Marissa, and I will link it. And we talked about how her brother was really creative as a child, and therefore she thought she wasn't creative. Because no one ever told her that she wasn't creative, but just because he was really creative and really extrovert and on the stage, she thought, no, I'm not creative, so I have to be the logical one. So that was really interesting to me, how environment can influence how you think about being creative. So yeah, I will link that above. And the other thing is, I agree with just having a big sheet of paper and drawing it out. It's one of the techniques I also use when people want to come up with a lot of content ideas. Because they're going to try and do it like linear and go and just write out all the ideas that they have, but then they get stuck at like 10 ideas because you have no clue how they're connected. You have no clue or no idea how to work from one to another. But if you draw and you see it as a big mind map, and you just start thinking, okay, I want to talk about this topic, and you draw it out with like balloons and your words, and then, okay, and I could talk about this from that topic and this. Oh wait, I could also talk, like you're making a big, I call it a content tree for a reason. It becomes like a big tree with all your content ideas. It's so much easier to do, and every time I teach people this, they're like, oh my God, I suddenly have so much more ideas, and they can see how they can split them up. So a lot of times, otherwise you think of one big idea. And I think this goes for a lot of ideas, like even in our business, not just content, but if we have like the idea for a course, we will come up with one big, huge idea, which probably should be 3, 4, or maybe even 5 products, where 1 or 2 courses and maybe an ebook, like smaller things that are more like easier for you to make and more comprehensive and easier to understand for the person getting it, instead of far too big, far too huge, never going to get through it course, which is something we're even kind of taught to be make.
Yeah. And we're also pretty good at to work ahead. If we look at our customers aren't there yet. We are there yet, but they aren't. So I think it's a really good point that you say you have to make it smaller. Make it smaller, make it smaller, make it smaller. And with content, you usually take the words already, but my coaches get blocked when they have to write the words. And a lot of times they get blocked when they want to write the words down. So I always advise them to start drawing, and you always get the comment, I can't draw. I'm not creative. I can't draw. Well, that's BS, because everyone can draw. You can draw a box. Everyone can draw a box. Everyone can draw a circle. And if you put a smile on it, it is a face. And they're always looking at me like, yeah, you're really mad. You know? But the moment they give into it and try the drawing, they say, oh, I'm getting words in my head that I never thought of. Well, that's exactly the point. So, and then they come, and then they have to go to you for the content tree, I think. Yeah.
So could you give an idea of when it would be great to draw it out?
Yeah. Oh, and when?
An example.
Well, for instance, a coachee of mine, she creates free offers from other coaches. So you can download a white paper or an ebook, and she makes the visuals. But she also advises what kind of lines, what kind of text you use at it. And yeah, mostly she can't make the connection at that moment. So I always say, go to your guts, make the drawings, and make the drawings of the things that you would advise them to say, to write down, to make the content with it. So that's one of the girls who was lyrical about it. She said, "Oh, I never thought of it. You could draw words. I thought you were a visual designer. Why don't you think of this?" But it's and we said it before. It's also the environment who said, "No, words are words, and a drawing is a drawing." But it's not true. Come on, like that. Yeah.
Maybe it's also something we learn in I don't know how you say that in English, lower grades, like our basic education.
Yeah.
We learn that words are more important than drawing. Like it's cool that you can draw between the lines when you're like 4 or 5, but afterwards you need to learn words, and you need to learn to write, and you need to do, and all of the focus is on words and numbers, and the whole idea of drawing and creativity in that sense gets lost.
Yeah.
So maybe that's like a part of the environment as well, like the way the education system is right now.
You're getting taught as a child that it is not okay to make doodles, that it is not okay to dream of and think about ideas. No, you have to write them down, and you have to make a report of it, and you have to make. Well, at the moment I see there is a little bit of change. My son is 9, so I can follow how they do it at I think it's preschool. No, preschool is it's preschool. I think
Preschool is
kindergarten and preschool. No, I don't know. No problem. But he's also in the he's in the 6th grade now, and they have projects. So they have 10 weeks project, and in that project it has a team, and they go and create stuff with a lot of basic materials like iron and paper and wool, and just create. And then they also have language classes, and also have number classes, mathematics and stuff, but also in a creative way. It's Sinterklaas is coming. How do you say it in English? Sinterklaas. And they have to make their own wish lists, and they got a budget. So you make a wish list for 300 euros. Well, for a kid of 9, 300 euros is a lot of money. But the intention was, you are going to search for stuff you like. You can cut them, you print them out, you cut them out, you make a piece of paper, and you do the math that you don't get over the 300 or to the 300. So they tend to use the creativity of the kids more and more these days, I think. We are from the same age, and we had to sit in our school banks and just listen to the teacher and do what they say.
Yep. Yeah. I think my favorite part of doing reports and was just cutting out image, because like that was even before scanners and like printing out image. Well, sometimes we had printing images, but not that much. So you would copy images from your library books and cut them out, or find magazines and cut them out. And I love doing that, like cutting those out. And I would print my report. So we did have a computer at home, so I would type it out, but then I would have spaces for my images, and I would put them in. And that was the most favorite part for me, just to decorate my reports and make them look cute as well. Like they had to have like a good subject, but they had to look cute as well.
Yeah, I think that's also a little bit of a girl thing, but but I recognize what you say. That was the fun part, to make it almost like a magazine again.
Yeah.
And I think that it was called documentation. Did you also add that? And you have to add the little small books in the library from one topic, and then you almost wrote down what was in the book at your own paper, and then you're going to search the pictures. That was the fun part. I know that. But when I look at the moment, the education, there's a lot of creativity in different kind of ways. So the boys are also fulfilled with creativity.
I think that's really cool. So I was wondering, because you have your coaching business as well, where you help creative, chaotic minds, what would be the biggest tip you could give chaotic minds to be more creative to give them more space to be creative?
I think that would be making your own routine. And then not in a way making your own routine that you do exactly the same every day, but what do you like to do most on a day? What gives you energy? So like a morning walk or a morning yoga or an afternoon tea, and when you give yourself, or if you allow yourself to have that routine daily or 3 times in a week, your creativity will flow again. I'm for sure. And when you go outside and meet with nature is really important for creative, chaotic minds. Nature is really a resting place for the mind. And when you allow yourself to create a routine like that and make it a non-negotiable routine, so it's really for you. Tell the people around you that you are doing that. They will support you, and I'm for sure. But most of the time, we already have a story in it. Oh, they won't approve it. That I'm going to walk now. That's not good. I have to work. All right, stop it. And, go outside, make it flow, and maybe bring your notebook, or maybe bring your phone, and you can speak on your dictaphone, or you can write it down on your phone or your notebook. But allow yourself to have 3, 4, 5 times a week a moment where you get your energy back. That's so really important, because always work will not get the creative mind in a happy place, not the place they want to be.
No, I think that's very true. Like it's the plane metaphor. Like if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. But also, if you don't take care of your physical body and your mental energy, then you can't take care of your creativity, because that's like, and it flows out of your mental state and out of your physical state as well. And I think maybe another part of that as well is to have the space, as in time, to be creative. So to say, okay, my creativity is stamping, okay, so I'm planning out 2 hours on a Wednesday afternoon to go stamping, or I want to be creative and make new videos or no blog posts. Okay, I'm blogging out a day to do that. Yeah. Just so that you also give yourself the time and the space to be creative, because I think a lot of times we tend to not give ourselves that space, that permission to be creative, and then it's a must at another moment, like, oh, I haven't posted a blog post in 3 weeks, I really have to do it now, and then there's definitely no creativity.
And I think you have the right word there, the permission to yourself. And also the permission that when you have planned your creative moment and it doesn't work, do something else. That's also okay. Because when you are going to sit down and you notice, oh my God, there's nothing coming out of my hands, it won't work. So stop and allow yourself and give yourself permission to do it at another moment. And maybe look at your schedule, change some tasks, and do it tomorrow or the next week. But well, don't force it. We already said it. But give yourself the moment, give yourself the time, and give yourself the freedom.
I think that's actually a big part of why I stopped as a Stampin' Up demonstrator, is that it started to feel like a must, and I lost all my creativity because of it. Like, I had to make stuff, and I would force myself to sit down and make stuff. And so I wouldn't be happy with what I made because it felt so forced and wrong, and it just it wouldn't flow anymore because there was so much pressure on it.
Yeah.
And there was I could have found a way through it, but instead I thought, it's also taking time away that I would like to be creative in Digitalie. Let's make my creativity with stamping just my hobby again, so that I can put the creativity back in Digitalie instead of feeling like I'm inadequate with my creativity in both of them, because that's what I started to feel like I didn't feel creative anymore in my Stampin' Up business, but also in Digitalie. And so because it was feeling so forced, it was bringing both of them down.
Yeah.
And that's the mental and the physical state. If they're not right anymore, and it becomes really hard to be creative.
You may allow yourself to be at your balance and not how another one does it. And that's mostly of the time, that's the big issue, that we want to do it like anyone else, like the neighbors doing it. I think because I don't see Paper Star as my income. It can be, but I don't see it like that. It brings me so much more joy than when I am going to look at the numbers and sit down and I have to make the right balance for it. And what do I have to have in income, and what's the inventory? And when I'm going to do that, then, oh man, flatline the creativity.
Exactly. And that's what happened. Like, I started to treat it more as a business at some point, because it started off just as, happy-go-lucky, just have some fun. And then at some point I started to see it more as a business, and I think that's where it all went down the drain.
And it's really funny that you say this. It almost sounds like business can't be fun. And that's really a fuck up mindset, because business can be fun. That's I tend to listen to Kim Munnekom. I don't know if you know her. She's teaching the law of attraction, and she's really a businesswoman. She's really a businesswoman, but also following the rules of the law of attraction. And one of the modules is having fun. When the road to your goal isn't fun, the goal also isn't fun. And we tend to see business as something really heavy. Yeah, it's really masculine, business. But business can also be fun. Why are we entrepreneurs? Because we can make it our own, and we can do it like we want to do it, and not like our bosses when we had a job, a paid job. So I think that's the magic word, fun.
I agree. I think fun is so important, and that goes for every business. I've noticed that when I feel like I must do things, even in Digitalie, if I want to do a course or a product because people ask me to, and I feel like I have to, even though I don't want to do it, it's not fun. Well, if I do something just because I feel like doing it, like, there's so much more momentum there because it's fun and because you're creative and you're in the right mindset, than if it's a must. And I think the whole term bro marketing is because a lot of women entrepreneurs don't feel, and I don't think it's just women entrepreneurs, I think it's creative entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They don't feel like it fits with how they want to work, let alone how they can work, but also how they want to work.
And you see that you, when you don't feel the fun, you will block your, you get blocked, yourself get blocked, but also the clients won't come to you, not the right clients anyway. You want to have the fun people to work with. And when they like you and they see you have fun and you have the right energy, they will, well, they come bees at honey, I think. So, yeah.
I agree. And I think that's such a good point to end on. Thank you so much, Salina.
You're welcome. It was really a nice conversation. I loved it.
Yeah, I think so too. And I love how all of these creative chats turn out so differently. And we are all creatives, but there's so much we can talk about. Well, thank you so much for today.
Thank you.
If you want to know more about Salina, check the description below, and I will see you next week. If you like this creative chat, don't forget to check another creative chat here, to subscribe to this channel, like this video, all the things, and I will see you next week.